Hello, everybody. A warm welcome to the Wine with Jimmy channel. Delighted to have you on board. This is an educational channel designed to help those of you studying the challenging examinations in wine, such as WSET. If you have any kind of questions at all during this presentation, any questions, comments, or concerns, please do get in touch. You can do so by commenting on this video below. Please make sure you click the like button and subscribe for weekly updates. So here we are looking at the wines of the world for the WSET level 4. That's the diploma. This is a part of the D3 section, the long, powerful, complex, whatever you want to say about it, D3 section. This is the wines of the southwest of France. And we're looking here at Series 3. And Series 3 is on Madiran. And so we're going to be talking about, of course, the very famous red wines produced here from the Tanach variety. And on this section, we're going to be looking at the introduction, history, grape growing, and environment. So this is part 1, available as free content across the mediums like YouTube, and parts 2 and 3, which is looking at the Tanach grape variety, and then also winemaking, wine business and laws, is only available on my e-learning portal. That's over at www.winewithjimmy.com. So please go over there, have a look at it. Lots of extra added exclusive content, things like multiple choice questions, flashcards, but of course that exclusive video content to help you with your studies. So let's rock and roll, looking at the world of Madiran. So here we are looking at the southwest of France. We have been through this. If you are following on from all of the previous series, you'll know a lot of background about this area now. The specific area we're looking at here is this darker green area. So this is north of Jurançon in an area called the Chalosse. And this is basically, therefore, slightly to the north of the Pyrenees, or the Pyrenees, or the Pyrenees, down in the southern mountain range extent. And that is the mountain range, of course, that separates France from Spain. We are talking about being roughly around 80 to 90 kilometers away from the Atlantic Ocean, as you see, the blue on the far side. So that's its location. There are other AOCs here. We're going to talk about the same area geographically. Pacharenc de Vic-Bilh is, in fact, for whites, normally kind of semi-sweet whites produced in the area. There's also Saumon, which is a larger AOC to the north, and Tursan as well, just there. But Madiran AOC is a high tannin red, which is made principally from the Tanach grape variety. As I mentioned, the same geographical area, there is a white produced, or really sort of a late harvest sweet white, similar in style to Jurançon, and that's called Pacharenc de Vic-Bilh. Madiran is about 1,400 hectares, whereas Pacharenc de Vic-Bilh is about 350 hectares, and much more of a domestic wine, the latter one. A little bit about the history here. So although the wine has flowed in Madiran since 800 BC, the story of Madiran proper really starts in the 11th century with the arrival of the Benedictine monks. Now, these monks founded the priory and participated in the development, of course, of vine culture, the viticulture of the region, as of course they did in many, many parts of Europe. Now, the wine style is said to have a rustic profile. It has good resistance, especially to transport, so it's able to be transported quite good distances, due to the fact, of course, it does have a fairly tannic profile, so kind of fairly antioxidant. And it's actually historically quite well known for being a wine which has been blended into other wines from other regions in times of poorer harvests, so to bulk up let's say, the color, the intensity, and so on. It's also gained a lot of well-known reputation because of the Camino de Santiago, or the Way of St. James pilgrims, who took their route through the Aire sur Adour or l'Escar area. So, of course, lots of the thirsty pilgrims, as they made their way to Galicia, would, of course, drink the wines of local areas as they made their pilgrimage. A little bit on the climate and weather. So Madiran, of course, being only 80 or 90 kilometers away from the Atlantic Ocean, will have an Atlantic influence, with a relatively high annual rainfall, around 1,000 millimeters, quite significant. But when this falls within the year is actually quite important. It typically falls in late winter and up to spring. So kind of October through to May is the most common. So you tend to find a relatively dry summer, but quite heavy rainfalls in the winter and dormant months mostly. There is also something to talk about here in terms of the foehn wind. It can be spelt with a double dot on the O as well. So warm, sunny summers and dry autumns with warm days and cool nights. And then those are kind of backed up by this hot, dry southern foehn wind. And that enables Tanach to ripen fully in most years. This hot and dry wind blows in spring and autumn, about 1 day in 3, and it dries the air and ventilating the canopy and the bunches, of course, in autumn, as well as boosting the temperature. The heat and the wind help the overripe berries for sweet wines as well. This is more important in places like Jurançon and Pacharenc de Vic-Bil, for example. And here's just a simple diagram to show you that you get that kind of colder wind that is moved up the Pyrenees, and then as it comes down, it starts to warm up due to the sunshine, and this becomes warmer, drier, and a very important effect in creating a microclimate which is warmer to ripen Tanach, the grape variety. A little bit on the grape growing just here. So there are an interesting area. Now, Madiran looks kind of like a square. The shape of it is not too disjointed. It's contiguous. And Madiran, the actual village town, sits towards the eastern side. And there are four large, roughly parallel ridges that are oriented north to south that go across this square, producing, therefore, fairly steep west-facing slopes for the most part. The soils on these slopes tend to be more clay and limestone. They provide good drainage, certainly with the limestone, and that produces grapes with good tannic structure and good acidities, which are able to withstand, of course, long time aging in bottle. There are flatter parts to Madiran, and on those flat parts, you'll find clay plus clay and loam, and you'll find that there's a bit more water retention there, and this really results in wines which are less tannic and can be drunk a little bit earlier. And a lot of key producers here and cooperatives will produce wine styles across the range, so they'll have access to both the slopes and some of the flatter land, for instance. This is just to show you in this picture some of the slopes. As you can see, this is Chateau d'Erquebourg, and you'll find those kind of lovely west-facing slopes. So that brings me to a conclusion for the first video on Madiran. Please join me for part 2, which is on the key grape variety, of course, of Tanach, going through history, relations, key characteristic, and what it tastes like. So please do join me for that. That will only be available on my e-learning portal. That's over at www.winewithjimmy.com. And of course, if you have any questions or concerns or comments, please do get in touch. You can comment on this video below. Make sure you click like and subscribe, and you'll also find social media links at the bottom of each of the slides in the presentation. And if you find yourself in the United Kingdom, please do come and say hi at one of my establishments for a class, a glass, or a bottle. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.